This is not the Worm Weirdo's basement. This is the Worm Weirdo's backyard. I had some work to do out in the garden today because it's going to be the nicest day that we have for the next week. It's going to be in the 50s today, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to get out in the garden and do some gardening, kind of tear all the pots that I had herbs in and empty those so that they don't crack over the winter. So I thought I'd give you a tour of my compost bins. This is the bin that's in the upper yard. As you can see, we're up a little higher. We're above the roof of all the houses here. This is our garden, and this is our gigantic compost pile. It has gotten out of hand because I've enlisted the help of at least one neighbor. She gives us her grass clippings and all of her yard debris. She lives right across the street, so all we have to do is drag them across the street and up this hill and up a second hill. So it's quite a workout to get all of her grass clippings up here. But they're doing really well. They made some really nice compost over the summer. But now my bins are full. And I even have an auxiliary pile next to the compost bin. And we also have a daylight down by the garden that I was hoping to use for throwing kitchen scraps in the winter, because I don't really feel like climbing up here in the middle of the winter. So, this is our huge pile, and I dumped a bunch of scraps in here yesterday. There's a lot of citrus in there. They were actually gifted to me through someone I connected with on the site sharewaste.com. It's a site where you can plunk your location into their map and let folks know, hey, I have a compost pile. If you have kitchen scraps or any sort of material for a compost pile, this pile is available. And sure enough, within a couple of months, I had been complaining to someone that no one had contacted me through the site. It's not used as much as I would like. I don't think Americans are very much into composting as much as Australians, where the site was developed and used quite frequently over there. But here in America, it took several months for me to connect with one person, Samantha, and she brought 5 gallons of, it looks like celery. She's been juicing celery, so there's a ton of pulped celery. She apparently is drinking a lot of orange juices because there's a ton of orange peels, and I was lucky enough to, apparently she had a papaya in her compost, so the worms I picked that out for the worms. I Googled it. It's not very acidic. It's not something that we eat in our household, fresh papaya. So it's going to be a rare treat for the worms. And it looks like something was digging in here yesterday, because I had all of this compost covered. So I think we had a raccoon or some other critter, like a skunk, digging through and trying to get at the apples and whatnot that were in there. So, I may have to devise a better system of disposing of her tasty, varmint-attracting compost, because I really have nowhere to bury it anymore in the volume that she brings it to me. So I've put this together very quickly. I might be throwing her compost in there, maybe ours as well, on the days where it's not too dangerous to climb up the hill in the winter. So that's what I've been doing today. In a second, I will show you our daylight bin in the lower yard. Okay, so this is our lower yard. This is my plastic Dalek style composter. I'm not really thrilled with the results of this because I did not put as many browns, the browns ratio I was completely off on. I think I was doing half and half browns and greens, and it went anaerobic. It's totally gross in there. So I'm going to have to train myself to do a higher browns to green ratio in this thing. The stuff at the bottom is just rank and terrible. This is a bag of browns, leaves from my neighbor that I add to it anytime I put any kitchen scraps in the bin. So today in the garden I'm going to be emptying all of these containers, except a few that will just overwinter. Put some insulation around them, like these onions. These are chives. The rosemary I have taken some cuttings from, and I will keep those cuttings alive on the kitchen sink throughout the winter and then replant them in the spring. So as lovely as this rosemary is, it's going to have to go into the compost. And we're going to tear everything down. The garden is done for the year. I'm going to turn all these pots upside down, dump out all the dirt, and pack up the garden for the winter.